woman who doesn't exist anymore walks a beach where no one knows her name. She survived a monster in a tailored suit, traded her identity for a pulse, and learned that breathing isn't the same as living. Then a dying cat rips into her leg, not begging, demanding, with eyes that hold a secret worth more than survival. In a storm drain, she finds the impossible. Two lynx cubs nursing from a stray calico who's starving herself to death to keep them alive. The cat chose mercy over instinct. Now Elena has to choose between the cage of her fear and the terrifying, beautiful act of giving a damn about something other than her next breath. The town didn't have a name that mattered. Elena knew it as Exit 47, 3 miles past the bait shop, a place chosen not for comfort but for obscurity. 8 months earlier, a federal handler had circled it on a map and told her 3 things: stay put, stay quiet, stay alive. She had obeyed. Her apartment sat above a shuttered fish market and smelled faintly of salt and old oil. One window faced the harbor, the other a brick wall tagged with faded graffiti. The ocean keeps secrets better than people. She liked that. Elena didn't sleep past dawn. The bed was angled so she could see the door and the fire escape. A go bag lived beneath the frame, cash, burner phone, fake IDs, and a knife she touched every morning like a prayer she didn't believe in anymore. Survival had become routine. Living was something she no longer recognized. Every morning at 7 she walked the same stretch of Blackwood Cove, jagged cliffs, sharp wind, no tourists. It was the only hour she let herself breathe. That morning, the sky was the color of a bruise. She saw the movement before she understood it. Orange and white, low to the ground, moving wrong, jerky, desperate. A cat. Elena's instinct was to keep walking. Broken things were dangerous. Looking led to caring, and caring got people killed. The cat lunged. Pain flared across her calf as claws tore through denim. Elena gasped, stumbling back, heart slamming against her ribs. But the cat didn't run. It stared at her. Up close, the animal was skeletal, ribs sharp beneath patchy fur, one ear torn, eyes too bright for a body this close to death. And in those eyes was something Elena recognized immediately. Not fear. Urgency. The cat released her leg, turned and limped away, then stopped and looked back. Waiting. Elena swore under her breath. And followed. The storm drain was half hidden by seaweed and broken shells, rusted, narrow, dark. From inside came a sound, thin, fragile, wrong. Mewling. Elena dragged the grate aside and shined her phone light into the darkness. 2 kittens. Except they weren't kittens. Their ears were too long, tipped with black tufts. Their paws were oversized, furred like snowshoes. Their eyes, gold and unblinking, held a wild awareness that made her breath catch. Lynx cubs. Curled around them was the Calico, her body curved protectively as the cubs nursed with desperate hunger. Elena's mind stalled. This shouldn't exist. A domestic cat nursing apex predators, a body defying instinct, biology, survival itself. The cat looked at her, and Elena understood. This wasn't an accident. This was a choice. The cat had lost her own kittens weeks earlier, taken by a predator while she hunted. Her milk came in with nowhere to go, her body swelling with nourishment meant for ghosts. Then she found the cubs. Their mother lay dead near a logging road, killed by a bullet meant for profit. The cubs cried beside her body, too young to understand death. Goldie, starving, hollow, leaking milk, should have walked away. Instead, she lay down. She fed them. Days passed, weeks. The cubs grew, Goldie shrank. Her ribs emerged like a map of sacrifice beneath thinning fur. She hunted for 4 while barely surviving as one. And when she could no longer stand, she searched for someone braver than herself. Someone who still had life left to risk. Elena knew sacrifice. She once been married to a man who wore kindness like a disguise. Sela's kind. Power, money, control. People who asked questions disappeared. Her brother had been one of them. When Elena learned her own name sat on a list in Sela's safe, she ran. Witness protection erased her life. New name, new face, new rules. Don't exist. She had followed them. Until now. Goldie's breathing was shallow now. Elena wrapped the cubs in her parka, cradled the cat and drove. Not away. Toward the vet clinic she'd avoided for months. Every second felt like exposure, like a beacon. Inside, the vet froze when he saw them. "These are Lynx cubs," he said softly. "I know. And this cat, she's been nursing them." "Yes." The vet shook his head in disbelief. "That's impossible." But there they were. Goldie was placed on fluids. The cubs were transferred to wildlife rehabilitation. Goldie lived. 3 days later, Elena stood in the parking lot of the wildlife sanctuary and watched a woman named Dr. Gloria James carry the Lynx cubs away in a specialized transport crate. They were already bigger, stronger. Their chirps had deepened into something that sounded less like kittens and more like the wild things they'd always been meant to become. Through the ventilation slots, Elena could see their tufted ears swiveling, alert to every sound, every movement. They didn't look back. "They'll be fine," Dr. James said, reading Elena's expression with the ease of someone who'd said goodbye to 1,000 wild things. "We've got a bonded pair of adolescent Lynx they can integrate with. By spring, if they continue to thrive, we'll soft release them into protected territory up north." Elena nodded, throat tight. "And they'll remember her, Goldie." Dr. James smiled, sad, knowing. In their way, not the way humans remember, but something in their wiring will carry the knowledge that they were chosen, that they were loved by something that had every reason not to love them. She paused. "That's more than most wild things get." The transport van pulled away, gravel crunching beneath tires, and Elena stood there until the red taillights disappeared around the bend. Then she drove back to the clinic. Julian had kept Goldie for 72 hours, IV fluids, antibiotics, nutritional paste administered through a syringe every 3 hours. The Calico had fought him at first, hissing weakly when he tried to move her, searching the exam room with wild eyes for the cubs that weren't there anymore. But by the second day, something had shifted. She'd started eating. Small amounts, shredded chicken, kitten formula mixed with water, but eating nonetheless. By the third day, she'd groomed herself, that instinctive feline ritual of reclaiming dignity one lick at a time. When Elena walked into the recovery room, Goldie was sitting upright in her cage, eyes clear, ears forward. "Alive." "She's ready to go," Julian said, appearing beside Elena with a carrier and a bag of supplies. High-calorie food. Antibiotics for another week, and strict instructions to keep her indoors for at least a month. She needs to rebuild muscle mass before she even thinks about hunting. Elena took the carrier, felt the weight of it, heavier than 3 days ago but still too light. "What do I owe you?" "Nothing." Julian held up a hand before she could protest. "Call it professional curiosity. I've written a paper in my head about this case at least 6 times. The biology alone," he shook his head. "Let's just say I'm glad I got to witness it." Elena opened the carrier door. Goldie walked in without hesitation, turned twice, and settled with her paws tucked beneath her chest. "Waiting. Trusting." "She chose you, you know," Julian said quietly. "Out of everyone on that beach, every person in this town, she chose you." Elena's vision blurred. "I don't know why." Maybe because she recognized something. He met her eyes, and there was no pity there, just understanding. Maybe she saw someone who understood what it costs to keep something alive when the world says to let it die. The apartment looked different when Elena carried Goldie inside. Same peeling wallpaper, same thrift store furniture, same window overlooking the harbor where fishing boats groaned against their moorings. But the air felt lighter somehow, less like a cage and more like a choice. She set up Goldie's supplies in the corner: food bowl, water, a cardboard box lined with the parka that still smelled like lynx cubs and salt air. The cat explored slowly, sniffing each corner, testing the softness of the makeshift bed. Then she looked at Elena and chirped, that ridiculous, conversational sound cats make when they're content. Elena laughed. It came out wet, broken, but real. She sat on the floor, and Goldie walked over, butted her head against Elena's knee, and began to purr. The sound was stronger now, not the ragged grief song from the storm drain, but something whole, rebuilt, a motor that had remembered how to run. Elena ran her fingers along Goldie's spine, still too prominent, still healing, and felt something unlock in her chest. For 2 years she'd survived Sila's by becoming small, invisible, by convincing herself that love was a weakness, that caring was a liability, that the only way to stay alive was to stop living. But Goldie, skeletal, exhausted, with every reason to give up, had looked at 2 predator cubs and decided they were worth dying for. And then she decided they were worth living for. Elena looked out the window, at the gray morning spreading across the harbor, at the world she'd been hiding from. "If you can survive the woods," she whispered to the cat, "I can survive this." Goldie purred louder. And for the first time since she'd walked out of Sila's kind's estate with nothing but a go bag and a prayer, Elena Vance took a full breath. Not the shallow, hunted breathing of someone waiting for the end. A real breath, deep, cleansing. The first breath of someone who decided to stop running and start living. She didn't know what came next. Didn't know if Silas's reach would find her, if the feds would relocate her again, if the fragile safety she'd built would shatter. But she knew one thing. She wasn't alone anymore. And that impossible biological miracle of connection was worth fighting for. Goldie stretched, yawned with her needle-sharp teeth, and curled into Elena's lap like she'd always belonged there. Like they'd always belonged to each other. Outside, the gulls cried their salt-wind songs. Inside, a woman and a cat who'd both defied nature sat together in the morning light. Breathing. Living. Surviving. Thank you for watching this interesting story. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave your thoughts below.